The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the show. Today's episode will feature discussion. Start over. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode will feature a discussion of the 2003 film Secondhand Lions. Joining me today is the creator, artist, and writer of the online comic Everpresent, Molly Farnsley.
Hello.
Hello, Molly. I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah. So like Prez Maxon last month on the show, you and I met at, well, I guess in terms of this show, because I've talked about it a couple times, the fabled PopCon of Fort Wayne.
Yes.
And you closed out the podcast stage that weekend, but you were the first person I asked to be a part of it.
Yes.
At the time.
I remember that, and I've thought of it over the years, so I'm glad you've asked.
Yeah. So that one, I've told Prez and whatnot that PopCon, what had me there and stuff, was kind of the genesis for this show, because I wanted.
Oh, was it?
I really had a good time meeting you and Prez and a couple other people and stuff I had.
That's great.
But I didn't have a show at the time where I could really have that content be a part of it, and that sort of started me fueling into wanting to do something different and more like this. So you were very much a part of that as well.
Cool.
And I got something to show you here. So ever since that, my bookmark for reading has been
no way
that.
Oh my gosh,
look how eaten up and
that
worn
makes me
out.
so happy though.
This has been my bookmark for
my gosh.
would it be like
my business
2 years? 2 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, this thing has been
goodness.
through the ringer. Like, look, it looks like I ate it at one point.
Those edges are worn. I've never seen oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You have the OG one too, because the link has been updated, so that link no longer works.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So you have a little piece of history right there.
It has gotten around in terms of books.
Wow.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. I think I had it in my laptop bag or something.
Amazing.
I was like, boom. But I really like the character.
Thank you.
And so I've kept it.
Thank you.
My bookmark. So I thought I'd show you that. So
that is so cool.
Yes. So yeah, your comic is Everpresent.
Yes.
And before we get into that,
you
have also changed my perspective and way of interviewing, because you blew my mind when I talked to you about Everpresent, when I was like figuring, she's probably been an artist for so long, and this is one of her big projects and stuff. And you're like, no, 2 years ago, started drawing and stuff. And so now I never assume, if someone just released like an album of a double album music, here it is. I'm like, so did you start doing that last year, or have you always been playing a song?
No. I never thought I was going to be an artist, because my other high school friends, high school is that kind of area when you start to figure out what you want to do, maybe what interests. I had other friends who were way better artists. So I thought, no, they're the artsy ones. I'll stick with writing. And no, I just, thought, what, this would be a really fun medium to tell a story in, a webcomic. So I thought, I'm going to teach myself to draw. And so when people say like, oh, I love your art, I can never do that. I get so upset when they say that, because I just have to tell them, yes, you can. It just takes practice. Yes, you can. I bet you could. Yeah. So it just takes practice and time and practice and more practice.
Right. And you can tell from your comic that you grow as an artist as
absolutely.
It goes along too.
I feel that's pretty common with most webcomics as well. When you start out, you can see the progression of their art style, which is a blessing and a curse, because blessing that their art's getting good, but a curse because you want it to all look the same at the same time. I honestly cannot read my old books. Like, I'll try to flip through the copies of my old webcomic, and I'm telling you what, I'm dying inside because I'm like, oh, that foot is so bad, or oh, look at the color I chose here. I don't like that at all. But you know what? I'm still proud of it because I worked on it really hard, and I certainly wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't put the time to make them originally the way they are. So
those feet took steps to a larger
there
world.
we go.
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, Everpresent. So how
Yes.
I know it has, but you and I have never recorded us talking about it. But
No.
How did it come across? Like, how is this the story you were gonna to tell, or how did the
funny
character?
You ask that because so Everpresent is unique because it is based on a dream I had several years ago, back in I want to say like 2014, give or take, maybe 15. I had a dream that basically was the introduction to the comic. So if you've read the comic, it starts out with this young woman running away in a castle from this mysterious smoke that's talking to her. You don't know why she's running away. You don't know what the smoke is. You don't know what's happening. And that's exactly what the dream was. I dreamt that this woman with short, dark hair was running away in a high school, actually, specifically. She was like sneaking around lockers and stuff. So that didn't translate. But she was running away from something. She couldn't run very fast. And I knew in the dream, you know, like you have that backstory in the back of your head, that feeling that's already set up. I knew she was trying to get away because like she would lose everything if she got caught, and she'd worked really hard to get where she was. And I remember waking up and going, well, that's an interesting idea. Let's explore that. And to be fair, that's where a lot of stories come from. Either a scene will come to mind or a character that I really want to flesh out and think, let's get to know you better. Let's get to know this world better. Let's see what happens. So to be honest, writing is not so much I've come up with every single individual thing and character and detail. No. Sometimes writers just have to discover what that world is too. So if a writer says, man, or a reader says, oh, I was so surprised when you said that. That's amazing. I'll say, yeah, so was I when I got there too. So it's such a fun medium to explore, just writing in general. Imagination is, I think, one of the best gifts humans can have, you know, a fun, good animation and imagination, because you can just discover so much in your own head.
Oh yeah. Flesh it out, see it through. It's great. So your imagination, are there any outside sources that inspire characters, things like what kind of like life, movies, books, music, like
Absolutely.
what particular ones drive Everpresent?
Yeah, Everpresent is kind of a huge amalgamation of a lot of Grimm's fairy tales. So there's some Rapunzel and Snow White and like Cinderella themes going on, but there's also dragons. So that comes into, and I read a ton of book series that had dragons in them growing up, like Dragons in Our Midst by Brian Davis. There was one called The Dragon Keeper Chronicles by Danita K. Paul. I recommend both of those. So dragons have always been part of my psyche, if you will. But the specific layout or venue, shall we say, of webcomics was inspired to me in late college. One of my roommates introduced me to a webcomic called The Archipelago. Not many people know about it. It's like a 10 to 12 book webcomic. And I started it and I really could not put it down. The characters were interesting. The world was fascinating. The villains were terrifying. And suddenly I was so sucked into this world and had faces to characters where I never really had that before when I was only reading, say, a novel or a novella. That was the added element of art to it, just pulled me in even more. And I had read comic books, you know, Spider-Man and Archie comics, but never anything that had a big, long, continuing story where I was like, man, are they going to stop evil Captain Snow and get back all the souls of the air to stop the Raven? You know, like it was just so immersive. And I thought, as I developed more and more of a love for webcomics, I thought, I want to tell a story through webcomics. I want a story in which a webcomic is the best way to tell it as all possible. And I've been doing it for over 4 years now.
Yeah. I mean, you've completed one whole book and you're in the middle of your second with...
I just hit 50 pages, 51 technically, as of today.
Wow. Yes. Today, which your story had like a bombshell today. Well, we're
Yes.
recording on the 30th. This will release on the 7th, so it has
Yes.
happened last week. But you had a huge
Yes.
bombshell.
The 30th, page 51. Yes.
Mm-hmm. With that one, like one thing I really like about your writing in Everpresent is you tend to lull the reader into a sense of simplicity and then just right at them.
Thank you. I'm sneaky like that.
There's like a comfort led into it. It's like, whoa, okay. Like, and it's not like you don't take turns just to shock and awe. It's clearly there, but there's a sense of comfort you're able to build and then just
exactly
right there. And this new story has a lot of it.
Thank you.
So.
I wanted the very first book, Doppelganger. It's all, if you know the premise of intrigue and like a plot to kill the prince and a switching of the real character for an assassin. The audience knows exactly what's going on at all times.
Yeah.
If you notice. But in this second book called Secrets, the audience knows very little what's going on. And I intentionally did it that way so that the main characters know more than the audience does instead of the other way around. So that's been kind of fun, but also difficult because mystery is one of those genres you have to tread carefully. You want to make it mysterious enough that your readers are like, well, I'm intrigued, but not so mysterious and over the top. They're like, I don't get it. What's going on?
Yeah.
So it's been a fun challenge.
I mean, you got stuff that's not so much like killing people or like the secret reveal. There's natural reveals that are like, oh, it's like there's one, I think like a little bit into this one, it's like, oh, it's been this long.
Yes.
Oh, this has happened. And I love reading like some of the commenter people like losing their shit.
Oh my gosh, that's the best part. I really, really look forward to Mondays just to see the comments, reactions. If I'm having a bad day, I just reread through my comic and see what people have to say. That's seriously.
Yeah, you got a very positive following. That's
man, the readers. Yeah, and my friends who've supported me over the years, and my mom and my dad, especially my family's really supportive on this. Like, it's just so nice having that community to connect with. I've got a Discord server. We chat about Everpresent occasionally, but we mostly post memes and songs too there.
So every one of those turns into that. It
really does,
every
though.
Chat group, every something. We used to say words. We used to talk about things. Now it's like, haha.
Back to hieroglyphics, basically.
yes, reverse. So you release like, is it every Monday or every Monday you can?
Oh, it's absolutely every Monday. I go out of my way to make sure there's a new page every Monday. If there's not, it's because there's a holiday. Christmas, Halloween, and 4th of July, I think, are my solid, I need a break this week.
Gotcha.
And I don't have a buffer right now, I have to admit. I started the comic with a lot of buffer pages. And
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, so.
It was recommended to me by another comic artist, start with at least 5. And she said, if I could have, I would have started with 10. So I started with 10 buffer pages. Do you know how hard it is to sit on 10 pages?
Oh, I bet.
With the story. Not to mention, she also recommended to start with several pages at once. Don't just release one page and then have everybody wonder like what's going on. So I wrote 5 pages and then I wrote 10 more pages. So I had 15 pages I was sitting on. And eventually was able to start. But yeah, that buffer kind of dwindled away over time. And now
life happens. And
yeah. I think anyone who does an ongoing series of any kind, whether it's story, music, podcast, you can understand the struggle.
Yeah. Now, how long? Now you have like a week to get it done if you don't have a buffer. But how long would it take you if you were in a comfort zone and had 10? How long would you take? At your own comfort to finish one?
To finish a page? Generally, a page a week. It can take anywhere from 8 to 12, maybe 14 hours, depending if I'm doing a new scene, new characters, new color palette. How many panels are there? Are there any like positions I haven't drawn before, like character positions? Luckily, the newest page was really simple. And like I said, I was with family over the weekend, and I felt guilty that I had to pull away from family activities to take care of it. But luckily, it didn't take much time at all. So that timing worked out exceedingly well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
story-wise, is that completed before you take to drawing it, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got, wait, I know this isn't gonna,
Oh no, it'll be on the
video,
YouTube one.
it'll be fine, but on the podcast, they're gonna be like, what's she talking about? So
They won't know.
here are my notes. And
Okay.
I have, oh gosh, I have written so much. I've got like notes out the wazoo, and I've gotten characters.
This is excellent. I love this.
Know them better, and I've got like a short
point
outline, and I've got a long point outline, and not to mention the best part is that I've written down in stick figure form the whole comic. And so while the story is completed, these are called thumbnails, which by the way, I post on my Patreon for my as reward tiers. But yeah, I've got the story thumbnailed all the way up to page 130. So, but while the stories, like I know it's exactly what's going to happen, I have the panels all figured out. Who's going to be in what panel, who's going to be saying what, for over, well, about 80 pages now. So yeah, I'm feeling really comfortable with that. But I also have book 3 over here, which I will get into. Yes. I'll get there when I get there. I love still full of character interviews and, you know, outlines and what have you.
I love the madness portion. Like I
oh heavens.
Like, cause I, like my wife one time, I think when it was during this show, I have this little thing I put like my keys and my wallet in my house, and she was cleaning it out, and she had this like this pile of Postit notes. It was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, that's the plans for the podcast. Because I would just write a little something and stick it in there.
Oh, absolutely.
And she just had a pile of them. She's like, you're making the podcast now. Do you still need these? I'm like, no.
This is page 2 of my 3-page. Look at this. I have on sticky notes. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I love it.
I feel your pain and applaud you.
It's great. No, I love it. I'll write wherever I can write on. If I have an idea, I gotta write it. I
literally have napkins around with notes and possible other lines on and things I need to draw. So yes, exactly.
Do you get the middle of the night ideas you just can't sleep on because you don't want it to change at all?
Yes, sometimes I get up and write down the exact line I heard, or I have my phone is chock full of them. Phones are so helpful for that.
Oh yeah. The notepad app, the notes app. I never.
Yes, exactly. And my best friend bought me a waterproof pad, just like drawing pad, writing pad to put in the bathroom. So in my shower, there's a little, technically my husband drew on it. It's a little picture of Pikachu. It's in there.
There you go. Yeah, I used to, when I lived in Los Angeles, and I slept with a notepad next to my bed, because if I I could sleep. And sometimes there'd be some nights where it'd be like hours of just doing that. And then I was like, well, at least it's not on my brain. At least it's not going to change.
And especially, at least it's not lost, because how many things have I thought I'll remember in the morning? No.
Or like if you're like shopping or something, you're like, oh my gosh.
I know.
And then someone bugs you and it's gone. And then you go back and you're like, I had this idea. What was it? Oh no, I totally get you.
Mentally backtrack, and then you don't end up in the spot you were, and it's frustrating. I look through all my old work notebooks where I had take notes to learn how to do new like standard operating procedures and such. They're just covered with doodles and ideas of characters and what have you. And I'm like, it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I swear I am.
I'm listening.
I am.
Multitask.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So with your stories, since you release them one by one by one by one, have you ever gotten a point where you're mid-story and you're like, I have a different idea for this? And
now that's interesting. I would say not like huge structural change, but definitely changing lines here and there, especially since the lines and words and speech bubbles cover a lot of art. So when you're like, no, I don't need this line here, off you go. Or think, you know what, I have to, okay, here's a good example. If you saw the new page today, you know about Oliver Desselaire, the lieutenant who's with Selena right now. I've had to dumb down his lines several times because my automatic writing style is to be a little more professional, since I was in the business world doing a lot of writing and business emails. So I've had to realize, you know what, he really is not as educated as, like, say, your average guy. He's smart, but he grew up kind of poor. So his language is going to be more contractions and like don't know what you're talking about, instead of I don't know what you're talking about, an example like that. So that's been difficult, and I've had to really make sure that my tone is conversational when I need it to be. And side note, in the last writing job I had, my boss pointed out to me my writing style, my conversational style is pretty starchy. And I thought, you're right. That's the way I talk too. So I thought, what if I embrace that and write a story so that it's written like an old Jane Austen novel, where it is kind of starchy and poetic and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking of, fooling around with that.
Oh, that's really cool. But
yeah, in regard to, back to your question, in regard to big changes, there's only maybe one or two things that I thought, oh, this would be really cool to add, and it wouldn't change too much. But no like major character additions or subtractions or anything like that.
Gotcha. Is Everpresent as a story, is it infinite, or do you have a planned?
There is a planned end. There's a planned conclusion, and I'm looking forward to getting to certain parts in the story that I've been sitting on for years. The worst part is having that I don't get to tell anybody or bounce ideas off anybody.
Does your husband at least get to hear them, or?
He does. There's two people.
Okay.
I run my ideas past. One is a writer, and he's the comic guy.
Okay.
I wish you could see behind my laptop. There's a gigantic comic rack, just chock full of comics, and he got me into superheroes big time. Gotcha. So I owe him a lot. In fact, this is his quilt, Captain America quilt. Yeah, we're hardcore nerds. But yes, there's two people I try to run everything by, just to make sure there's another set of eyes looking at it. Because, you think your baby's beautiful, and then someone comes along and they're like, no, your baby could be better. Here, let me help you. That's the problem with any kind of art, writing, whatever. You need another set of eyes to hone it. You need somebody else to see the flaws that you maybe couldn't.
Gotcha.
And that's hard to do. That's so hard to just open up your soul and say, please edit this. So you really got to develop a thick skin and not take it personally when somebody wants to.
Oh, no. Yeah. Got to just whatever. It's nice to hear from other things, because it's always nice, as much as it sucks to have a no or a, not let yourself go too far with things.
Absolutely. So
there's that, but that's coming from a guy who has his own show now, because he doesn't want to listen to anybody. So are there any spin-offs you've thought of with that word? I mean, you've got a world that's growing. And it's
goodness.
A world. Yes. So there's characters you could do. There's different eras.
Yes. I've come up with, so in between books 1 and 2, I released a backstory for the main characters, Silas and Selena, their story of how they fell in love, because the comic takes place a year after they met and they're getting married. So that was one little spin-off, shall we say. It was like 150 pages of backstory, which was once again available on my Patreon. Between books 2 and 3, I'm gonna have another backstory for the character Oliver, where he came from, his life, his story. And I've been writing that for several years now, and I'm really excited to release that too. It's one of my favorite pieces. But in regard to other spin-offs, I don't know if this counts, but I love experiencing and thinking about the what ifs. I love coming up with alternate timelines, alternate storylines. And some of them get kind of dark, I guess, or what's another word for it? Weird.
Weird
like
is
what
good.
If this character didn't come in time to save other character? What if these two never met? What if, this happened? So that's been kind of fun to play with. I don't think I'll let any of them be canon. If I were to make them into the comic in some way, they would probably just be dreams or nightmares by certain characters, and think, oh boy, I'm glad it didn't happen that way. But yeah, the only other thing are just backstories for characters.
Gotcha. That's cool. So, as an artist and stuff, living in this wonderful year of 2020 with lockdown and all that stuff, has the COVID life like hampered or helped your production on Everpresent? Has it? Because I admit, like myself as a podcaster, at first I couldn't do any more Zoom calls and sitting at home a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I am more of a homebody and an introvert, so in that regard, I wasn't, dying to go out and see people as much, perhaps. I think the one thing, and this feels so petty, but like it's so simple. One of the things I really love to do is to go and sit in coffee shops, people watch and draw, while I sip my berry hibiscus from Starbucks. And Yeah, that's to me is like the perfect going out and about kind of thing where I'm not interacting
Okay.
face to face with anyone. I'm just kind of in my own little world, but away from home. And obviously, even recently, they've closed down indoor seating again. And so that's been kind of a, oh, well. And so that's really not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But, in times like these, you have to embrace the little things that make you happy,
Right.
or at least be aware of them. Because if you don't, I think, and I've learned this from personal experience in the past couple of years, if you don't pay attention to the little things that bring you joy and you don't realize that you're losing some of them, you'll suddenly wonder, why am I so sad? So it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to take care of yourself and know what brightens your day and see if you can do any of those if you can.
Right. Right. Are there any projects you have aside, like from Everpresent, that you want to get off the ground or you're working
Oh
on at all?
boy. I've considered other webcomics, one with mermaids in South Florida, one with a sci-fi in outer space, one that was even a modern retelling of an old Jane Austen, not her work, but that era, but set it as like a high school drama. And they're interesting. Everpresent is definitely taking up most of my time, and I want to ensure that that gets completed. So I'm not saying I wouldn't start another web comic at the time, but it's a possibility. I mean, the only other art projects I'm doing at the moment is I did Inktober for the first time
Okay. Yeah.
last month, which was really fun. Also, kind of liberating that I didn't have the undo button. Suddenly, I'm like, well, it is what it is. I can't make it any better.
Yeah.
The undo button can be kind of addicting, but yeah, I'm trying more painting, physical painting. Other than that, it's just been kind of me exploring little things here and there. Nothing is major,
Mhm.
definitely. Let me put it that way. Nothing is major as ever present, but side projects that make me happy, whether it's Inktober or painting or baking, even.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
This is the
And
year for baking.
do you you're gonna make like an ever-present character, be like, it's cake. Whoosh, do
Oh my
that
gosh. I'll make a 3D model and you'll never know.
There you go.
Is it cake or is it not?
Do you prefer the digital drawing over hand drawn, or because I know you do both?
I'm going to say digital in the end, yes,
Mm-hmm.
which was a hard transition for me. However, I just love that you can manipulate. You're like, I got the nose too big. No problem. No problem. Or I made them too tall. I can just, pull it down, free transform. And then having layers is fantastic. Oh, I don't like the background. Yep, I can change it and not have to worry about messing up the foreground, that kind of thing. And now that I'm so comfortable with it, of course, that's another reason.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping to ink for Inktober was tough because I wasn't as familiar with the medium, like what it
Gotcha.
could and couldn't do. So I just had to pay attention to what other people were doing. And I asked questions like, what brand are you using? What do you recommend? Which, to be honest, that's how everybody learns. You just ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
try to reach out to other people who are doing the same things and encourage each other. Just start a little community, that kind of thing. Art friends are the best, though.
And I do like one thing that's cool when I've seen you at the couple conventions we've
Yeah.
been at together, your commissions where you're like, hey, $1
Oh,
this much,
yeah.
$2. That's really neat.
Yeah, those have been way more popular than I was expecting. I went to Indie PopCon last year, and those sold way more. In fact, I don't think I sold any prints or any comics at all. It was just commissions,
Mm-hmm.
which was fun. They were just little tiny index cards and like, all right, for 5 minutes, give me something to draw and I'll draw it. One girl, she came up to me and lamenting that there was no fan art of a character who had a voice actress who was there in, it was Monica Real.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
And she's like, I would love for her to sign a drawing of this character. I said, I'd be willing to draw it. Just give me, 5 minutes. And for this commission, I'd be happy to. And she's like, oh, would you really? So the neat part about that, though, she went and got it signed and the girl came back and showed me. And eventually I wanted to go meet Monica. I really love her work in My Hero Academia as Sue Uasui. And so when I said, hi, like, I love your work. And I drew a picture of, I think, I can't remember the character's name, but she went, oh, you drew that. Oh yeah, I thought it was cute. And I was like, oh, please, no, I'm blushing. That was kind of a wonderful moment.
That's great. Awesome. Awesome. All right. We'll move on to the Secondhand Lions now.
Excellent. Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about? I can. that's fine. That was it for mine.
Nope, that's it. Just I guess if you let people know where to read the comic if they want, because it's free to read.
Right, we will get there, and we'll do that at the end. Yeah,
wonderful.
So, okay, so Secondhand Lions is written and directed by Tim McCanless, who also wrote The Iron Giant, was a conceptual writer for Smallville, and one of my favorite little bits about him is he was an associate producer on the 1983 Fred Olen Ray film Scalps, which is this one where this Native American spirit possesses these people. It's like a slasher movie. It's really wacky, goofy, like early 80s horror movie, but it's like, okay, that's everybody's got an odd credit. Everybody, I mean,
yes,
mine's got a couple of those, but like everybody's got it. I think Drew McWeeny, who's a well-known movie critic, he was the writer of Fart the Movie. So that's everybody's got one. Everybody's got one.
Sure.
It stars Haley Joel Osment, Michael Caine, Robert Duvall, Kyra Sedgwick, Josh Lucas, Eric Balfour, Christian Kane, and Emmanuel Vaguer. And it's a coming-of-age story about a shy young boy sent by his irresponsible mother to spend the summer with his wealthy, eccentric uncles in Texas. So when I have a guest, there's always a process to figure out what film we're going to talk about. And this was one of your choices, and I really liked it because it stands out as one that's going to feel like you and could uniquely associate with you, because I don't know anybody, if I was like, pick a film, they're going to pick Secondhand Lions. So
really?
when you got there, I was like,
that makes me sad.
That's it. Not making me sad. I don't know. Watch, the next 5 people are going to be like, I wanted to talk Secondhand Lions.
Okay.
But I don't think, I'm not saying it's a film that people don't like, because it's it was a well-reviewed, it's an enjoyable film.
Yes.
But I don't know who's going to.
It's not as well known as I would like it to be.
Right. So what is it to you, that movie, like, since you obviously picked it as a favorite?
Yes. I saw it even, from junior high on. So I've loved it for quite some time. And to me, what I love about the story is just, once again, the imagination of it. That the kid Walter is stuck somewhere, and all he wants to know is, tell me about the time you're in Africa. Where were you guys for 40 years? And the exciting stories he hears. And can I really trust what they're saying? Or is it all just, a bunch of lies? And just feeling for Walter and the main character, and like what he's going through and having to figure it out. Another thing that I loved, and I picked up on it on my view of it today, the score is so emotional and moving. And I had to look up the credits of that. That was done by Patrick Doyle, who did movies such as Thor, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, several other movies kind of in that genre. And I thought, no wonder, because I've loved his other ones.
Yeah, he's got a good classical old school style. Yeah.
It makes you excited and it brings tears to your eyes. And I think soundtracks in movies really add so much emotion when and it adds to what the actors are doing. And movies without soundtracks would be nowhere where they are now. So yeah, I think that's one reason that the story is so compelling to me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a fun movie. I remember when it came out, clearly. And it's one of the funny things I've thought about with this one is it's a movie that's the main story is a flashback, but within the flashback we have other flashbacks.
Yes, it's true.
I think it's
like
kinda,
Inception before Inception.
Right, there you go. Yeah. Flashback to the flashback. But not as cool as The Hills Have Eyes 2, the old Hills Have Eyes 2, where there was a flashback from a dog.
Oh wow, we're going
hilarious.
There. Okay.
Hilarious.
Here's a question: was it in color or not? Like,
yeah, it was in color because it was a clip. It was a clip from the previous movie. That's why they had it.
Gotcha.
But it's a funny moment. But yeah, flashback, and in the flashback, it's a bit of an adventure story that's kind of Arabian-ish. Kind of intentionally plays more to like a classical feel, which is very contrast to what's going on in the
there's a lot of themes going on. I mean, even the opening credits was done in kind of this beautiful Arabic but then all of a sudden you're in Texas in what looks like 1960s, late 1960s,
a different kind of desert land, like
but not to even mention the movie starts with this guy in this like comic studio and you're like, what is going on?
yeah, definitely.
But they meshed them all together so beautifully.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. And like the title Secondhand Lions. Now,
Exactly.
maybe I'm dumb and I'm just like, oh, is it this? But there, there's a hand-me-down lion that they purchase because the uncles are rich and they throw their
Yes.
money on stupid stuff. So that's kind of a secondhand lion, literally. But I'm like, is it because of the stories they tell come secondhand?
Oh,
And it
I
might be
never caught that.
It might be
It's
lion.
lion. I never caught that.
I didn't know because they always say they're not. They always make sure to let you know that the story might be embellished a little bit. There might not be truth to it,
Right.
but there's the message of the movie is the belief is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And more of the belief on who they are rather than the exact details of a story. So I was wondering if it's a play on the word lying, Secondhand Lions, because the whole
that's
movie
amazing. I never caught that. I'm gonna have to headcanon accepted. Yes.
all right, because the mother, the mother also thinks that there's a fable with these guys and their money, and then thinks that they got it from bank robbing, or tries to lie.
No,
and say
actually,
that.
It's crazy. I turned on subtitles. Sorry to jump in. I turned on subtitles for the first time. She actually believes something else. At the very beginning, when she's bringing Walter, there was a line I heard. I thought, honey, and I said, honey, can you run it back and turn on subtitles? She said, I heard they were in an insane asylum for 40 years and got a lot off of some kind of lawsuit, which is totally like not even mentioned any other point in the movie. So there's even like more lies and intrigue going on. And that one woman in the hospital who was like, yo, are you with the McCain brothers? I heard they stole that money from Al Capone. So be careful. Like, oh my gosh, how many like, incorrect fake news do we have running around?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I was like, wait, is it a play on the word lying? Because the movie was full of it.
I like that. I think it is. Yeah. Cause they don't even say the word secondhand lions at all. The closest they get is, you bought a lion, a used lion.
Because I mean, the lying might have come from an embellished story. If they told one person, they believed it, and they tell another, it's secondhand, right? Maybe I
really like that.
Maybe my mind is just awful.
Crazy? Yeah, I remember watching like the behind the scenes when it first came out. And we got it on DVD, and we were like, "Oh boy, behind the scenes stuff," But I don't remember them mentioning anything like that. Maybe they did, but I'm gonna accept that. I like that. I like that explanation.
Okay, fair enough. Claiming that that's my deep thesis on Secondhand Lions.
There you go.
So I mean, this movie, I like Duvall and Michael Caine just they are having a blast in this movie together. And this is only the second time they've been in a movie together. Before this was 1976. It was The Eagle Has Landed, which was a war satire movie from back then. But these two definitely enjoy being with, or at least they make us think they do, because there's a fun chemistry that you think just goes beyond that. And one of my favorite moments comes early when Haley Joel Osment gets dropped off and he's alone and it's at night, and they give him that whole thing, we don't know about kids, we're about to die, you might want to there's like a twinkle in that.
Find it, better yet, learn to live without it. And I'm like, oh boy.
That's just because they're messing with them. It's pretty funny. And I mean, this is a common story you see where like kid gets dumped on relatives for a summer or something, and then they learn to become one of them after being anti, but it's a really well done version of that story. That's the thing. Like you can tell the same setup of stories, just do it very well, and this one does it very well, I think.
My husband even noticed a new or a little key feature I never even noticed. At the very beginning of the movie, Walter's wearing this particular shirt, we'll just call it plaid shirt. And you don't really see it throughout the rest of the movie until Walter discovers his uncle's hidden cash stash. Oh. And the next scene he's in, he's wearing the same shirt, as if like everything is reset. Like, can I trust you or not? And I'm like, wow, good call, babe. He's like really good at picking up on those things.
Very nice little touch. Yeah, the cash stash, which we never like officially we hear so much, but I don't think do they ever point out exactly where it came from?
Yes, they pointed out that it came from the Sheik's reward
right?
money.
That's right. That's what. Yes, that's right. Then let's see. There's another the moment I like where it's not an action movie, but there's a fight scene in the bar that's pretty good where Robert Duvall takes on like 4 punk kids. And then I was reading that he actually punched one of them on many takes because he thought he was the actual stunt man. So he kept punching him for real.
No.
And the actor got pissed and he thought he was a stunt man.
Oh my gosh. That's great. That is one of my favorite fight scenes, I think, in a bar. Especially that speech right before.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like, "Who do you think you are, old man?" and grabs him by the throat and says everything he's done and what he's seen and how he's loved one woman with a passion with a flea like you couldn't begin to understand. I'm like, yeah, tell him.
Yeah. And it's like, because when that scene happens, I'm like, how is this going to turn out? Like, I'm like,
right?
You know, Michael Caine's got a pistol or whatever. I was like, all right. But how's this going to
No, it was a shotgun.
Yeah, it was shotgun. That's right. Oh, yeah. They have the salesman. They got the salesmen that keep coming by, the little humorous bit. Them just because they live out
to their characters and who they are. You know, the vibes I kind of get from Secondhand Lions. It reminds me a lot of Gravity Falls. If you've ever seen the TV.
Yeah. Oh no. I love Gravity Falls.
Yeah,
so,
I love Gravity Falls.
It's very much that. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Except we've got 2 kids, 1 uncle versus 2 uncles, 1 kid.
Yes. Very true. And there's no parallel dimensions. There's just stories. So.
Which you could include our alternate dimensions.
could.
There's a pig. There's a pig.
Oh
too.
Yeah, there's a pig. Yeah. There is oh my gosh, yes. This is the groundwork.
I think so. We need to call Alex Hirsch and ask.
So you seen Second? Shh, no one's brought that up.
Dang it, you're gonna ruin my cover. Shut up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's very much like a Gravity because there's all the weird stories. Yeah, that's very much
summer. Yep.
You love Gravity Falls? Check out Secondhand Lions.
Yes, I recommend it highly. Wonderful hidden little gem.
Oh yeah, and so like the one weird thing was like the mom's part gets like really nasty. like I'm like, how are we all cool after this? I
know.
She brings that guy who's like supposedly an investigator. And they try to rob the money, and it's like we're all cool after this. Like I know she ends up taking him back, and he lives with them, but. They were all cool enough to let it go in the first place.
Yeah, they were like, he has no business. Stan, the guy, the jerk boyfriend, you have no business being around that kid. And the mom's like, of course not. What kind of mother would I be? But of course that was a lie. Which is sad. But it was nice to see Walter stand up for himself in a way and being like, no, I'm going to live with these 2 uncles who actually care about me and love me.
Yeah.
You do. So yeah, that movie like breaks my heart in a good way, in the best ways possible.
Right.
The quarter of the movie, you're just like, poor kid. But he gets a really happy ending.
He does. And the ending they have where he meets up with the grandson of the Sheik.
Yes.
That was apparently a reshoot. People didn't like the original ending of the movie, and I've
seen the deleted scene, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. How did it end originally? I didn't have a chance to watch the deleted scene.
Originally, it brought back pretty much every character that they encountered. So those 4 punk teenagers were now grown up and they had their own lives and talked about, oh, your uncle helped us through a difficult time in our lives. And some other characters they talked to, and in the very end the Sheik himself showed up with his like entourage of harem ladies and and how he came to pay his respects or something. So it was a lot more grand. And it was interesting. It was very interesting, but they did not need that much, I think, grandeur and that much pomp, shall we say. It felt more over the top. I really liked the ending they went with where the grandson the Sheik shows up, because that's all it took.
Well, it's a grandson and a grandson. Well, not grandson, but kind of that ending you told me about. That kind of reminds me of. Did you ever see the Tim Burton movie Big Fish?
I have not. Is it good?
Oh, it's really good. I won't spoil the ending, but it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. A little fun factoid about this movie is like originally it must have been in development for a little before it happened, because it was planned as a Robert Redford and Paul Newman movie.
Oh wow! Oh, and they were such a famous duo together.
Yeah, it would have been their 3rd movie together, and that was what the idea was when they were making.
Okay, I can totally see that now that you say it, because I've watched Sting, and I need to watch
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah, but I really like Sting.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And the movie as it stands, I was fascinated going back to it here as a time capsule of this, because there are a lot of people that were like on the rise to having a little bit of a fad phase. Nobody came out of this like major star, but they were about to break out into a period where they were going to be in a lot of stuff, where you got Josh Lucas, who at this time he had Sweet Home Alabama, A Beautiful Mind, and Hulk. And right after this, he was about to hit a series of where he's going to be like leading man or big name to add on a poster. Because he had like the Poseidon Adventure, he had the Glory Road basketball movie and stuff.
I remember that one. Yep.
And then like it was like a 5-year period, and he just didn't work out, I guess, as a leading man. And he was recently in the Ford v Ferrari movie.
Yes,
but
my father recommends that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I would recommend. And if you have a surround sound system.
Ooh, I think we're gonna watch it in New Year's because I'm going back to.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, he doesn't show up as often anymore, but he was like going to be that next big guy. I remember watching him on like a talk show one time. I forget what movie he was doing, some movie, and he was like overconfident as hell. I was like, ooh, this guy. And then like my one friend, I had a friend when I lived in Los Angeles, he worked on the Sony lot. And he was shooting, he was doing a commentary for like Stealth, and he saw him like outside smoking a cigarette.
That's right, he was in Stealth.
Yeah, he was like, he saw him smoking a cigarette. He just looked like he was just miserable. Like, why did I do this movie?
Which is a shame because I like that movie. Fantastic soundtrack once again.
Also, you get Kyra Sedgwick, who is she's been around forever, but this was right about the time she was going to be in The Closer that ran for like 7 years on TNT. We know drama. Eric Balfour, who had the Texas Chainsaw remake, he was on 24 and 6 Feet Under at the time. He was a little bit of a thing. Christian Kane, who plays the young Robert Duvall in the movie, he was an Angel, Just Married, Dawson's Creek, Summer Catch, the Friday Night Lights movie. And then the king of the crop was Emmanuel Vaugier, who plays Jasmine in the flashbacks.
Okay.
When I saw her picture, I'm like, oh, this is probably where it starts, because she had this run where she was like I don't know if it's because I lived in Los Angeles at the time, but she was an it girl. Everybody was like talking about her when I moved out
gorgeous.
there. She was in this time from like 2002, 2006. She was to that Josh Hartnett movie, 40 Days and 40 Nights. She was on Charmed, Smallville, One Tree Hill, 2.5 Men, Monk, Veronica Mars. She was in She was in Saw 2, and she was on the old Masters of Horror show in the John Carpenter's second one called Pro Life. Like, she was everywhere for 4 years, and I don't know what she's done lately. I'm not dogging her, but I'm like, they do that with actors.
There's so many reasons.
Young actors and actresses, they'll get like 80 TV guest spots and like try to push them in movies. And she had a like Lionsgate, like I noticed back in this 00's time, would like sign people to multi-picture deals, which is like an old school thing. But she was in a lot of, I did Blu-ray and DVD testing, and Lionsgate was one of our clients, and like she would appear in like a bunch of Lionsgate movies for a while.
That makes sense.
So I would see her
with companies.
Yeah, so they had her on some sort of contract for a bit, but yeah, those were, I just kind of time capsule me, because I'm like, wow, these people are still around. But I'm like, this was when they were all like pumping up, and like Haley Joel Osment, even he's doing fine. Yeah.
And what was the Alien artificial intelligence movie?
Yeah, AI. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that one.
Yeah, and then this was one of, the movie was, he was the first person cast, and they sold it to try to get more people in it on him. And
he was excellent.
Yeah, he's had some great guests. Like, he was on Silicon Valley. He had a really funny guest star in there, and What We Do in the Shadows season 2 premiere.
Oh, is he in that? Because I've been dying to see that.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's in the premiere of the second season, which
excellent,
he's hilarious in. But he's been doing
it's
stuff.
It's gonna be weird to see him as an adult, because I'm always gonna picture him as this little kid in the icy.
Right. Yeah, everybody. Everybody's got it in their mind. But yeah, they also, I read they did a musical version of this movie in 2013 in Seattle.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what? I could see this working as a musical. Call me crazy.
You could do it, and I think this takes place in like 62, so you could have a killer soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the
Beatles are just starting.
Comes from the radio and such. There's a word for that, where the soundtrack is coming from the inside the world, not outside the world.
Right.
Yeah, like, oh, you could get some
You
fantastic.
could do a jukebox musical.
That's what I'm. Yep. That's what it's called.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, this is a good. This is a great movie for any age, family. Like if you got kids, you're not going to hate watching it. Like
That's true.
it's a really good fun coming of age story. This is one that I think they could show in schools. Like, you know, if they have a movie day, like it's be a really cool one to show. Like this would be perfect. Like,
There's a very little bit of language, but it depends on the family and what their preferences are. But it doesn't go anywhere. Like you know, any strong language anyway.
Right. Very true. All right, we'll move to our final segment of this one.
All right.
So, okay, this is what else? This is where we just talk about anything else we've taken in recently, any work we've posted recently or put out there. So any like movies, books, some whatever. So Molly, what else?
Oh boy. I have been recently getting into, well, I've been into it for a couple years, but only recently have been really excited. Dungeons and Dragons, if you want to discuss that.
There you go. Yeah, tell me.
Game. And so I've been marrying that with my drawing. And so it's been really fun when you play a game of it with your friends together and you're building characters and worlds to actually draw them and pull them into some kind of visual medium. Only recently, the leader of my group, or the dungeon master, if you will, created a world map for us. So it's all like it from her, you know, her making. And so that was really fun to see how she's picturing our world and how we're building it together. And we've actually been talking about playing again soon, some Sunday. And I'm really looking forward to it because our characters are starting to really get to know each other. We're starting to see more of the world, like we said. We've gained some friends along the way. So that to me is just something that has been playing in my mind. And I'm so excited and I think about it. And it's basically a writer's dream when it comes to games because you're writing you're basically writing a book, but all the characters are your friends. So they make their own decisions.
Right.
You have to keep a loose grip on this story.
Awesome. Myself, I've recently, probably, I hope it's posted by the time I'm a slow writer if not, but I'm doing a review of the Curse of Frankenstein Blu-ray from Warner Archive. It's the Hammer film from the late 1960s.
Wow.
I'm gonna cut that because I don't want anybody correcting me later. You know what one.
In your comments below.
Yeah, which this is a test run for them because they put a little more effort into this one because Warner Archive typically they'll upgrade the movie from DVD to Blu-ray. They're like, we did new transfer, that's it. This one, they did like a big restoration on it. Ooh. And they added bonus features and stuff. So if you're into the Hammer horror Curse of Frankenstein, they said if this one sells well, they're going to keep putting this kind of effort into this stuff. So
yeah, that's great.
It was supposed to be a Halloween release, but because of like COVID stuff, it got delayed till I think it comes out December 15th. I get them early. I get them early, so I'm really off with when they come out a lot of the times. So, but that one's really it shows. It's really really good, and the movie's cool too. I like all the Hammer.
So you're writing a review for that?
Yeah, I got a review coming up for that.
Excellent.
So I'm sitting on a pile and I'm like, I don't know if I have the time because I've got the Lord of the Rings movies on 4K, including the Hobbits extended versions.
Woo!
So like
more power to you.
More power to me, but like it's a lot of time. Luckily, all those have 0 bonus features.
Oh, thank goodness.
So yeah,
like I miss bonus features on modern DVDs and such because back in the 2000s they were cramming them full. But at the same time, I can understand.
There's another version of the set coming out in the summer. So I think they just wanted to put their first 4Ks out real quick here and make some holiday cash on people wanting them for gifts. And also I'm gonna toot my own horn a bit. So for last week's episode, I made a really cool promo video for it. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
I would like to.
I worked really fucking hard on it.
Yes, so I'd love to see it.
I'm not preaching to you. It's the listeners.
But I want to see it too.
Go see it. I work really hard on the promos all the time, but this was like a grand effort that I put together, and it's fun. It's really cool.
Great.
And speaking of last week, I wanted to say congrats to last week's guest, Chelsea Christer, and all involved with Bleeding Audio, her film. They're officially now a part of the lineup for the Slam Dance Film Festival, which is huge. And I'm happy to watch her continued success. Like, congrats, Chelsea, and
Chelsea.
keep going. So, that will do it for today. Molly, I am so thrilled to connect with you and capture one of our conversations on a recording.
Yes. The last time we had this kind of interview, it was so fun, and I immediately thought afterwards, oh, I wish that had been recorded so I could remember it. So yes, I'm glad.
Not my fault.
It was not your fault.
It's not. And just for the people at home,
No one's fault, really.
There was no record. There was a mic, a PA, and I was offered a subpar method of recording. So I didn't want to. So I just said, hey, you know what? People are walking by. Let's try this out.
Let's just talk to them.
Talk to them. Talk to each other. We got to kill time and make the stage not look empty.
It was fun.
It was a good time. I really had fun at that one.
But this one has been even more fun.
There we go. Yes. So tell people where they can find your work, keep up with you on social media, all that. Take it away.
Excellent. So my webcomic, Everpresent, is available at the website everpresentcomic.com. Everpresent is just EVERPRESENT.
Correct.
Comic. Ooh, I was like, oh no, I've never had to spell it out loud before. Here we go. I always just type it and write it. But and there I have links to other places you can find me. So whether it's my Discord server or Twitter or the Facebook group, I'm pretty active in all those places there. But if you ever want to find me on Twitter, my handle is Living for the Lamb. So that's living with no G and then the number 4 and then the lamb, Living for the Lamb. That's where you'll find me.
Excellent. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. My written work is at whysoblue.com. I return tomorrow with 4K Blues Day, but until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film chatter.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at thebrandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.